Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Brass Junkies. I'm your host, Andrew Hitz, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Michael W. Nickens. What's
Once
up,
again,
Doc?
with all my gratitude, thanks for having me back on. It's a great time to hang with you and great time to meet folks and discuss all the things that we discuss.
Yeah, I'm glad that the first 7 people I asked were all busy. So I'm honored that you're here. I've said enough. You what?
I like to be on the list wherever, as long as I'm on it.
Fair enough. Yeah, right. Yeah, we've everybody. If you've been in the music business long enough, there are lists that you've been on that at some point you then are just like apparently no longer on, and you basically never get a reason. So I'm feeling that. Yeah,
for sure.
It's like, hey, I'm on the list. Doesn't matter where. So that's pretty funny. This was a wonderful conversation
For sure.
with Myles Blakemore, trombonist for the Navy Band here in Washington D.C. And he just put out an album, which you're going to hear us talk all about. It's called Bach-ish, and how great is this thing?
You know, the power of the playing is right off the bat. It's undeniable, and then the longer you stick with it, you're like, man, there's a lot of music making going on right now. Let me see. Let me just shut up and see what I can learn. You know?
Yeah. Yep. You'll hear right off the top that that the album was inspired by Nina Simone and like both her music, but also her journey and the roadblocks that were thrown up in front of her, which I just cannot even begin to imagine like any of it. And it's just it's just really thoughtful. And talk to him about the creative process. Talk to him about about a lot of different things. You know,
Yeah, making space for himself, understanding who he is, kind of can, no matter how much we think it won't, somehow ends up having some effect on what your experience is, and then thinking about as he's bringing different composers in, taking his platform and making space for them. So it's he's doing it the right way and doing the right things, and it's a great time to get to hang with him.
Yeah, he also talked about a recording session that he did that he was really proud of, his first one that ended up not being usable, and kind of the human side of that and dealing with that. And there's a Dave Taylor quote that he heard in a masterclass that's worth like the whole worth the whole hour. Yeah, it's really, really, really special. And at the very end, talked about Howard University, and Doc's got a real special connection there,
Sure.
and which he talks about and what it means to teach there. So, yeah, this was some of them. You do 220 of these, and some of them don't fly by. This one flew by. Yeah, this one was kind of like,
look at time. Look at the time. Yeah, seriously.
Time. So this was really great. Speaking of really great, I wanted to thank Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for the Brass Junkies, which I got one over there. I got another Parker mouthpiece over there. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model tuba mouthpiece and the Lance LeDuc Model euphonium mouthpiece. May he rest in peace. Find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and
I just love the party that's set up by just all the names that are right then and there. It's like I want that hang to happen in my house so badly. I'm gonna make that happen.
Michael Parker, by the way, he's competitively riding BMX bikes now. I mean, he's still like doing still teaches at Bloomsburg. He's still doing the mouthpiece thing. He still plays, he's like nothing has changed. He's still a dad, and he's like doing like the thing, like
he
like
goes after it. That's all.
Yeah,
that's all I've ever known him as, is something interesting, and he goes after it. That's how I met him.
Yep, which describes you and describes Myles. So yeah, this is I'm really really happy that we were able to put this thing together. And please, this is something that I didn't mention. This is neat. He on his Facebook page, I'll put a link to this in the show notes. But he said that the album is free everywhere.
Yeah.
So he actually has a store on Redbubble where he's got like some like stickers and some water bottle and things like that. And he said, if you want to support like me and the album's free, you want to support me, buy one of these. Some of them are
Buy
really
some merch.
funny. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, which is kind of cool because then also people see the water ball and they're like, "Who the hell is that?" You know, and in a good way, you know. And so
The extra energy of swag, and then but then the beauty of access to the music. We make sure the music is out there, get these composers out there.
yeah,
And then and they the very, very strong playing.
yes, yep, yeah. And he had something to say, and he got that thing into the microphones, which yeah, which he doesn't have a lot of playing recording experience. He explains all this to us, and yeah, and it gets easier. So I don't know if he won't do a better job of getting it into the mics. It'll just be a lot less you know, a lot less emotional energy if his journey is any like. I'll never forget. I'll close with this. Never forget the first recording session with Boston Brass that ended up being the Within Earshot album, which I'm like fiercely proud of.
As you
I
should
love
be.
it. But I remember JD at one point, JD Shaw, the horn player. You know, like I was playing well, but I was not exactly enjoying myself. He was like, "You all right, Hitz?" And I was like, "This kind of sucks," you know. Like I was like, I'm happy with my tuba playing, but this is, you know. And he said, "You'll." He said, "You're gonna learn to enjoy recording like with experience." And I was like, and I knew he was right, but I was like, I don't know if that's gonna be my experience. And of course, he was right. He was right about everything, which is why I fought with him a lot, like a brother. You know, it's like he was always right.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, he just Myles sounds great. Please go
Yes.
check this out, Bachish, and especially after you hear this conversation, I think your I bet your interest is going to be piqued. So anyway, without further ado,
Let's
let
go.
us get to the conversation that Dr. Michael W. Nickens and I had with trombone player extraordinaire Myles Blakemore. And today on the Brass Junkies, we are joined by a trombone player who is in the Navy Band here in Washington, D.C., and just put out a brand new album, which is not only fantastic playing, but is like a real creative statement, which is what floats my boat. Because you know, there's lots of people that can play really well. Not a lot of people that can play as well as you do, but the creative statement thing, that's yeah, that's what I'm excited to unpack with you. Myles Blakemore, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I know you're going to razz me about this, but I got to say, I truly am honored. I've been listening for a long time. So,
That's
hey, I'm
awesome.
here.
I'm not gonna razz you. I show nothing but respect to the people that come on here, except for Nickens.
He
But you know,
doesn't show
Well,
respect to co-hosts, but that's how he shows love.
yeah, that's my love language. I got things to unpack, but you know, every therapist is out of network, so I'm just, you know, I just do the best I can on my own. That's yeah, you know, it's
we're all
fun.
just trying to make it.
Right. Thank you, Myles. Thank you. See, you're 30, but you're way wiser than yeah, than your years would lead us to believe. So I want to jump right in here to this album. It's called Bach-ish, and you have a like one paragraph description of this on your website, which I asked if I could just read this because I think it tells a lot, and you said yes, and then we'll kind of go from there. Releasing an album has been a dream that I've been chasing on and off for the past 4 years. I can't begin to describe how excited I am to finally have something to share across all streaming platforms on October 27th, 2023, which as we record this, it is the 29th, so it is out there for all to hear. The concept of this album stems from my love of Nina Simone. She, like myself, fell in love with Bach's music and had the dream to become a classical musician. After attending Juilliard and developing the skill necessary, she was ultimately rejected by the classical music industry for being Black. Heartbroken, she turned to jazz/popular music to make a living, all the while using Bach's inspiration in her melodies and improvisations. I would describe this unique sound concept as Bach-ish. In order to emulate that concept, I have recorded compositions inspired by Bach, like the Homage Bach and the Gift of Little G. While Nina Simone never had the opportunity to become a professional classical musician, I have because of her and others who've paved the way. I'm grateful for that and hope you, the listener, enjoy my debut album. It's short running, less than 30 minutes, but it's just a taste for what's in store for the future. Till then, Myles. First of all, that reads like a mission statement. I mean, like that's like I'm serious. Like, like in terms of normally liner notes are just like I played this and then I played this and then I played this. Like, thank you, for coming to the worst TED Talk you've ever heard. And this is like, so talk to us about the inspiration behind this. First of all, what happened 4 years ago that made you want to record an album?
Well, first of all, welcome to Myles University. This is my TED Talk. No,
I love
mission statement aside, 4 years ago, after I got my first, full-time position, right, as a musician, I was finally able to drop, this just constant bombardment of taking auditions, right? That's kind of what we're taught in school. We're taught to like kind of, go the straight and narrow path until we reach this goal, right? So 4 years ago, I reached that goal. And for me, that was such a weight off my shoulders because now I could pursue actually being a musician, not to disparage, playing orchestral excerpts, but that's not why I signed up for this thing, And so, once I got that job, I just knew I was like, well, now I can do what I want as a musician. And that's something that I've wanted for a long time. So it was liberating. And so, yeah, 4 years ago, I began that process. I actually commissioned a bunch of unaccompanied trombone works, by Black composers, and I started recording. So I found a, recording engineer who will remain nameless, and we actually went into a studio, right? And so we recorded in a dry acoustic space, which, if you know anything about recording a trombone, maybe not the best kind of acoustics, that you want.
Very diplomatic how you just put that.
And so
defeating,
it was kind of
a little bit draining, in fact,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But no, I mean, going through that entire process, and coming up with something that I thought I was going to be very happy with. And then, to find out that, it just wasn't going to work. You could, add all the artificial acoustics that you want, but that just wasn't, what I had in mind. So I kind of had to drop that. And it actually kind of like made me really sad, honestly.
Yeah.
I was drained. I went through this whole thing and had nothing to show for it. So, then something beautiful happened, the pandemic. So, add that on top of things. But what ended up happening though, honestly, was during the pandemic, we didn't have access to, pianists, right? So I was like, well, let me dig even further into this unaccompanied repertoire. And so that led me to the Bach cello suites. And I'll tell you, I'd had relationships with Bach on and off before then, but I hadn't really got it before that moment, and it wasn't until playing through those cello suites where I was just like, oh, I get it now. And, I have always loved Nina Simone, since the first note I heard her sing, when I was in high school. And I knew that she had this affinity for Bach, but I never quite understood why she loved it the way she loved it. So once I started playing those cello suites, that just kind of got my, appetite wet. And I was just like, okay, now let me go back to Nina Simone. And then her music made so much more sense to me, even though I had already listened to it so many hours, And wow. Then, yeah, those two things just kind of invigorated that passion again, because I think I had lost it. So that just made me, excited again to start this process over. And honestly, everything that I had, learned from that first album that will never be released, I was able to add to this project. So, even though I went through something that kind of sucked, I feel like I came out on the other side, even better. So I'm grateful for that experience.
Wow.
I had a very, very similar, I have a similar affinity for, especially going through the cello suites. And of course, I know Nina Simone's story as well. And of course, as a keyboardist, a pianist as well, tried my best to play through fugues and inventions and things like that of chorales. But with the suites and playing tuba, all the stuff we kind of like learn, we could sit down in these theory classes while we're in school, and they don't quite connect to the repertoire we're performing. We learn what we're supposed to learn some kind of way. The repertoire we're playing on, at least for tuba, isn't even in the same language really. And then that's kind of an interesting thing. And then, but just for my own curiosity, digging into and like figuring out what I learned about, as trying to be a composer. What do I learn about voice leading? What do I learn about phrasing? What do I learn about form? What do I learn about style? Then as a performer, sitting down some young 18-year-old, 17-year-old kid and trying to talk to them about the secrets of the universe being revealed, because you learn things like what your posture is supposed to be like because of what the dance means, and if you know the steps, and then how that relates to what's written on the page, and then what do you do with all sorts of nuance and things like that. It's kind of a big thing that I've spent a lot of time, had a lot of fun doing. What do you learn? What's your thing? Like, give us a maybe the small, the medium, and the large of like what you discovered going into those suites.
Yeah, I mean, one, time is like out the window, right? It really, there's so much room for like expression within the meter, that he writes, and it's so wild. And I think that's too just something that's beautiful, because I had played a lot of unaccompanied stuff before, and with that repertoire, you really have to kind of keep time within yourself because nobody else is going to, right? And if you lose the beat, then the audience kind of, even if they aren't conscious of the fact that they've lost the beat, they know something's up. They know something's weird. And so that's like the worst thing you could do. But with those cello suites, I just feel like it's like a fantasy, and it's like, you really can play around with it. And I think that was like one of the things I just was like, oh, this is so ingenious, And
sure.
yeah, I mean,
you can always do what tuba players do, which is just conveniently slow down at the end of every phrase so that they can breathe. Sorry. All right. That was the fastest soapbox I've ever done. All right. Sorry. Continue.
Honestly, though, that's the downside, right? It's like there's nowhere to breathe in those things. Yeah, they're written for cello, which you don't have to blow into. Thank goodness.
You can smoke a cigarette while you're playing the cello.
right.
You can do whatever the hell you want.
I love doing it in an orchestra in the 1970s.
I don't think we recorded it, but we Hitz and I played through. We played through the sixth prelude.
Yes.
Whoa.
And what I did was I split it into two tuba parts that then interacted all over the place. So I don't think we recorded it, but we probably either should have or should do.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah.
We got some homework.
We'll get the name from Myles of that first recording engine.
Yeah, right.
I'll hook you up. I know the best guy.
You want us to record it in this panel truck? That seems weird. Yeah. Anyway,
if you could just put the mic into the tuba bell, I think that would be the best location.
Oh goodness. Sorry, I totally interrupted you, which is what I do. If you listen to this show regularly and you're upset by that, then you need a therapist, because you shouldn't be listening. So what else did you learn from Bach?
Oh yeah, I mean, I learned that. I learned, just like honestly, is mostly about expression for me, and I think that just kind of like really opened things up for me, like just not being so restricted. It's really refreshing.
Yes. And your album is reeking of storytelling, which again is like, I always try and be very careful. I don't want to in any way minimize how impressive it is to be able to operate a trombone at the level that you do, in terms of like note beginnings and note releases and playing in tune and all registers at all dynamics. And all that stuff is like, you've put in a ton of work. And that, I'm not trying to shortchange that at all. It's just that some people then only use that to like follow other people's instructions. And then other people use it to like tell a story that hasn't been told, that they're kind of dying to get out, which is like what it seems like you've done with this album. Which, like, so my hat's off to you, because that's what I think the world needs right now, is like, people making music like this. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, there's even like some little stories within, the pieces themselves, and why I chose the certain pieces that I did. For instance, the very first Bach piece I ever played was The Sheep May Safely Graze. I was in 12th grade in youth orchestra, never played Bach before. And then that was the very first thing that we played in the first concert. And so that piece certainly has like a place in my heart. And so I think it's like things like that. I was like, oh, okay, Bach is pretty cool, And then I got to college, and my trombone teacher at SMU, John Kitzman, had us play Bach chorales every week in studio class. And I think I was like, okay, maybe I don't understand Bach. So it's like one of those things where I was like, again, this on and off relationship. And, it's like, I get there's chords and, you got to be able to play phrases or whatever. But I was like, it doesn't really do it for me. And again, it wasn't until I went through those cello suites years later where I was like, okay, now I finally get it.
Oh, that's great. Talk to us about this first recording session that you did. Not to like belabor the point, but it sounds like you said that you commissioned some work. You like went through. You recorded it. It went well. And I don't care who you are, how well you play. The first time you do a recording session is just like it takes like 5 times more mental energy than the 5th time you do a recording session. Like nobody gets to skip that process. I can't imagine having gone through the first recording I did with Boston Brass and then having it like not usable. Like
Yeah.
I mean, talk to us about what that felt like when you came to the realization that that was unsalvageable, and then how long did it take you to decide to do something about it rather than to just feel, bad about it?
No, of course, yeah. So, first of all, I'm going to throw the hats out to those composers I commissioned Quinn Mason, Alonzo Malik Pirio, former student of mine, actually, Walt Beck. Those were the 3 main composers that I commissioned for those. So, and I've played those works, and they're all out on YouTube, just like from live performances. But yeah, those recordings are sunk for now. But yeah, no, that first recording session was interesting for sure. I felt like, I went and laid it down, and I didn't know enough about recording, and it wasn't again, I feel like everybody kind of learned that in 2020, because we had to download iMovie and download, whatever, software you want to use, and figure it out yourself. So, but at the time I didn't know anything. So I just assumed, yeah, these are great. And it wasn't until I showed them to a friend of mine, actually, who's now like the recording engineer for the New York Philharmonic. A friend of mine went to school with MSM. And so I was like, hey, man, I know you're into recording engineer. Like, can you tell me, like, what's your opinion on these things? Sent him the tracks. And he was just like, ... we need to talk. So it was like one of those things.
That's not good.
No, not a good sign. And so, yeah, we talked, and, he told me kind of what I was facing here, and he was just like, yeah, we can add all the, artificial, reverb you want, but what you want is that natural reverb from a hall. Yeah. That's really the chef's kiss, so to speak. So yeah, no, that was one of those things. And after that conversation, I was just like, I got a second, I got a third opinion, from other people, and they all were saying the same thing. And it was devastating.
I bet.
Honestly. Yeah. So, honestly, I kind of went away from recording for a bit. And again, it wasn't until getting into those Bachelor suites where I kind of dug out of that hole.
Wow. Boy, that's the human side of that. I also can't imagine how hard it was. I guess because you hadn't done the process, you just didn't know any better. But like how hard it must have been to record in that environment, because like you don't want something that's crazy wet and boomy, because there's not going to be any definition no matter what you do, especially from if you're a tuba player. But like, yeah, if it's really dry, I mean, even just like playing, even just playing like a Boston Brass show that we've played like, 100 times, when it's a super dry hall, like you play those first notes in rehearsal and you're like, ah, shit, tonight's going to be like work, but like, yeah. So I can't imagine like having the red light on and doing the, doing a recording session. That's kind of nuts.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, and like the bummer is like that. I feel like, because, when you record something, you work on that piece for a long time.
Of course.
And so I feel like I kind of have shelved those pieces, and it's, I eventually I am going to go back and record all of them again. But I think I just need more time away from them before
tone and pitch, and like, yeah. What's the response actually doing? If you're not getting any of that feedback from the room, it is just blind. You just, I guess it's deaf, but you know what I'm saying? It's a real leap of faith. You have to
like blind faith. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to just hope that's it's like playing in a hall where you're not getting anything back either. You just have to say, well, and I don't know if you've ever experienced, I've definitely have, where I've played into a hall and the pitch that comes back to me is just not exactly what I thought I was sending out, whether that be the room or whatever, and it's just like, oh, like I'm a little bit sagging, whatever. And to get none of that, I don't know, I rely on it and want to go into the right rooms and just kind of and be able to adjust to what I know is my best part of my sound and get that reminder, because I can actually hear it. And oof,
Oh yeah,
Goodness
it's
gracious.
instant feedback, and that's such a lovely thing about playing in a hall or a church or anything like that. It's like exactly where you are, the second you let that note go.
Sure.
So, a young musician who's listening to this, who would like to make a recording themselves, and they're hearing this like super dry is bad. Like, can you give like the cliff notes, which a young person doesn't know what those are? You probably don't know what those are. But anyway, I'm just gonna glide right past that. The really short version of like what should somebody look for in a space when recording.
Yeah, so the first thing is going to be that shoebox shape that we talk about with concert halls that you want. Not oval, not round, but shoebox is the ideal acoustic environment, right? You want it to be kind of a medium space, right? So you don't necessarily want like a massive concert hall, because then again, we were kind of talking about that too wet. That might be not great. Same with like a huge chapel of a church that also might be kind of too wet. So really kind of the medium is going to be what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, you're going to have all kinds of like mics and stuff that you want. So something that's closer to the bell, something that's getting that room noise as well, that's farther away and ideally high up. So there's all kinds of things that you want to look for.
The other thing to keep in mind is, and this the larger the room, the bigger tends to be an issue, is that how a hall or a church or wherever sounds when there are people in it is different than how it sounds when it is completely empty. And unless you are doing a live recording, in air quotes, then it's going to be empty, which means it's going to be a lot more boomy because you don't have all those people like soaking up the sound. And so just something to consider if you're brand new to this. That was a really specific answer. I loved it. That was great. You're like talking about the shape of the hall. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I doubted you, Myles. I thought you were gonna have a good answer. That's why I asked. But you were like, boom, boom, boom. It was like I was reading like a PowerPoint presentation.
I got you. I am a professor,
Yeah, but you didn't go to Michigan,
No, I didn't.
He went to a pretty good school.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
Pretty good.
Well, we're gonna get to that. Sorry, we were joking around beforehand about Doc went to Michigan, and just about how you never have to wonder whether someone went to Michigan because they'll be sure to tell you real quick. But anyway, if you Doc was the one who made the joke, so you should email him. Actually, it was me, but you should still email Doc. Let's see here. Very quickly, I wanted to thank the Mary Papert School of Music at Duquesne University for sponsoring the Brass Junkies. They have an incredible brass faculty, and you should. And Pittsburgh is this amazing
really
town.
Great. Really great.
I mean, it's on. I'm not just saying this because there are lots of cities that if there was a school sponsoring, I would not be like fill in the blank. I don't want actual emails that are mad, so I won't name any names. But fill in the blank is a great creative city when it's not. But Pittsburgh's got the opera, got the symphony, has got, speaking of like artistic statements, there's all sorts of there's just lots of really great art that's happening there, musical and otherwise, and a lot of collaboration. And River City Brass Band, I mean, it's just like, for the size of the city, it's has like 3 times more hit music going on than it should, compared to what else is going on. It's awesome. So, and the faculty is just fantastic. So if you are interested in getting any college degree, they have made a video specifically for Brass Junkies listeners or viewers. If you are watching on YouTube, you can go to the show notes. And again, thank you to the Mary Papert School of Music at Duquesne University. All right, so I want to put a bow here on the album. So Nina Simone, like I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit more about her. She's this. Actually, I hate to admit this, but I did not know the part about how she got denied admission to Curtis, and about how she got an honorary degree there, like days before she passed away, which I guess better late than never. But she was like this incredibly courageous music. I mean, the political statements that she put into her music. First of all, the music was just like was otherworldly that happened to have political statements. But like, when somebody like me does the math, and it's like I was watching some clips on YouTube and watching her perform Mississippi Goddamn. She was like performing this in 1965. I mean, it's like being black in 1965 performing that. I mean, that would be courageous for somebody to perform today,
and for mostly white audiences too. I mean, like, think of the danger of that, but she had so much courage.
Yeah, so I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit more about what she meant and continues to mean to you as an artist.
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, again, her career is so multifaceted. She's just was extremely prolific during that time as well. But to go from having this purely classical and gospel, growing up in churches, of course, background, and then to pivot like that, and then have to, she wasn't a singer, but one of her first gigs after after college was kind of being a pianist for a vocal coach, right? And so she had to play piano. She was like sitting in all these vocal lessons. And so, really she was taking notes herself. She was just like, oh, so that's what you do with, for this note, and then, your voice, you move it like this, whatever. And then she started, like, oh man, well, I don't have to take payments from this person. I'll just be the vocal coach. So then she started doing vocal coaching herself, and then started playing in jazz clubs. And the jazz club was like, hey, if you want to keep playing here, we need you to sing. She was like, oh, I don't sing. They're like, no, we need you to sing, and that's just, she just busted out I Loves You Porgy from Porgy and Bess, and it became her first big hit, so she ended up getting discovered singing that song, recorded, and then from there kind of moved on to jazz, pop, all kinds of things. And then, yeah, like you said, during the civil rights movement, she was extremely active. She was actually next door neighbors with Malcolm X, and so she was like godmother to their children. And she was very, very involved with the movement, writing songs, performing, marching, all these kinds of things. And her career just continued to evolve. So she was never, sitting still, I'd say. In fact, she has so many songs recorded. I'm a huge fan, and I've never listened to all of her songs because they're just like, it's like every time I think, I'm like, that's got to be the last one. There's like, oh, I've never seen this album before.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, I read her Wikipedia page earlier, so I'm an expert now. But one thing that I thought was also remarkable was that when she started playing in Atlantic City, that when she first started playing piano, like in the nightclub, that she changed her name because like her her family like referred to this stuff as the devil's music, and so like she was even getting it from that angle. She was born Eunice Kathleen Wayman, so and so Nina Simone was a way to hide from her family. To then, I mean, it's like there are let's just say that my artistic journey has been a little bit easier. just slightly. I mean, it's really but I think that you've kind of captured the attitude of like, I mean, just like, again, you had an artistic statement that was like inside of you that you needed to get out, which again is great. I keep saying nice things about you, so I'm probably gonna get angry emails from your friends. But,
you can butter me up all day, man.
Then I'll have you back sometime, and then I'll shit all over you. So it's like, that's
give and take.
Exactly. Let's see her. Go ahead.
I was gonna say just how impressive it is, and just knowing what it takes for all of us. You created the space for yourself. You made the project. You curated the musical journey, not only with the construction of the pieces, but your own time frame and who you're collaborating with, and did it on your own terms. And it's like, on the one hand, it's like you have to, right? Like how else to do it? But the other part of it is like just so beautiful that you did it, and you knew that you had the strength to do it. I mean, all of us have our heroes, and we have our encouragement from our circles, but that's all easy to say and still not have done it. And look at you, and good on you, and how much better the rest of us are, because you followed through and made sure that it's out there. So congratulations and thank you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, nobody's going to do it for you. But that said, I definitely have had a lot of help along the way, not to mention from my parents, from my many teachers, everybody, even from friends and family. Yeah, no, that's what it takes. 1000%.
Yeah. There are a lot of musicians who have a lot of ideas about things that they could record, about screenplays they could write, about paintings that they could do, and then there is a subset of those artists who actually follow through on doing the thing, and then there's a subset of those people who have the courage to share it with the world, because until 2 days ago, no one could say, yeah, I heard Myles Blakemore's album and it sucks. But now, because nobody had ever heard it, right? I'm being serious.
Yeah. No,
like, as soon as you say, I made a podcast, here it is, then instantly people can be like, your podcast sucks. As soon as you say, here's my conducting, they say, okay, your conducting sucks. And so, again, like, ideas to the follow through to do it, and then the follow through to share it. And that's a good example for all of us, but especially the young people listening to this, where you gotta check all three of those boxes. And how good does it feel to have this out there in the world?
Oh, it feels great. And just to add to that example, I'll tell you one where I shared with the world, where I was nervous AF, and I thought I was making a huge mistake, but I did it anyway. This summer, I got asked to play at the International Trombone Festival down in Salt Lake City. And so I have such a reverence for this, institution, right? So, like most of the major trombone players around the world, come to this thing every year and, gather. And it's one of those things where, I wanted to present sort of a teaser for this album, right? So I did a recital that I titled Bachish. So it's some of this music, some other music, but again, for the sake of artistic expression, I wanted to dress up as J.S. Bach. So I bought this costume, and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell the festival that I was doing this. I was just I'm just gonna walk on stage in costume.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like 30 minutes before, the dressing room's available, and I've got my my suitcase. I open it up, and yeah, exactly. And I put it on, and I'm just thinking in my head you are such an idiot. Why did you do this? This is like a prestigious thing. It's like all your colleagues are here. They're gonna think you're an idiot, but I didn't pack anything else. So I was like, I guess I got to go through with it.
I love this.
Burn the boats.
This is great. I was either walking out there in shorts and a Birkenstocks, or I was putting on the damn Bach costume.
But I walked on stage, and people started laughing immediately. And then I just knew, I was kind of the same thing, right? The shoulders just relaxed. And I was just like, oh yeah, I can go out there.
Yeah, they got it.
I got this. Yeah, for sure.
You got it, and they got it, which all goes together. You just sparked a memory in me. I tend to wear some memorable clothing when I perform as well.
Nice.
And
tend.
And I clearly remember the very first time, and I'm standing there looking at myself. I'm like, there are 10,000 people there. I'm about to walk out in front of 10,000 people right now. Here I go.
Yeah, you just got to do it.
I did it.
It
worked out pretty well.
Yeah, for both of you. The definition of so it's so important for anybody. I'm talking to myself here and talking to anybody that's listening to these two people who I'm on the have the privilege of talking to right now, who are both very confident and very accomplished people in our industry. Each one of them. Myles is loving this. He's like, yeah, you can just say, should I change my name here to New York Times so that you can just say that, anyway, so you can put it at the top of your press kit. He's like, well, that's his stage name. It's New York Times. Yeah, it's not the paper. Dude,
I put it in quotes. Come on. Yeah.
But the important thing to take
Times
away
with a Y.
The important thing to take away here is that both of them, right before they did it, were like, I'm a fraud, I can't pull this off, these are my words, but this is what I just inferred from this.
I'm not exactly saying that to myself, but it was more like,
sure,
for sure it was, okay, we're going. Like
Right.
nothing will be the same again.
Yeah.
For me, it was much harsher.
Yeah, we can't. Once I walk out there in this suit, once I walk out there in this box, like I can't undo that. I'm always gonna be the person who blank. And yet, like, here we are. The definition of remarkable is worth remarking about. And in general, the people, even at like an ITF, the trombone players who like play the crap out of the standard literature and don't really have that much to say, those recitals tend to not be talked about like an hour later, let alone 5 to 10 years later. I promise you that somebody is going to be talking in reverence about the time when this guy walked out and was dressed like Bach and then blew us all away, because that's worth remark. And I'm also guarantee that there were some, probably old dude who was just like blubbity, and you can't please everybody.
Mocking the tradition.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How dare he?
Right? Yeah, exactly. But that's okay because you can't please everybody. But that's great.
There's no safe space on the planet Earth. You know what I'm saying? None. And if you decide to take the charge, right? It's like, I'm gonna do this thing, this extra thing by choice. And it's like I got to do the extra work by choice rather than I'm going to play it safe. And then all the extra work that comes from playing safe that you don't want to do, you're not choosing to do, that you kind of have to do. So it's like, do the extra or end up doing the extra. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I just bravo to you. And I saw it on the recordings as well. And I'm like, okay, we're going in. We're going in.
Got to go in 100%. You know what? It's funny enough. They put a picture from that recital on the ITF journal.
Of course they did.
Every quarter of the year. And so
people were thanking their stars for you, man.
Yeah, no, but it was wild. They didn't even tell me they were going to put me on the front of the magazine. I was, it's one of those things. Like I woke up to some texts that were just like, "Oh, good morning, cover girl," and I was just like,
"Yeah,
what are you talking about?" And then going online and being like, "Oh crap,"
And I do, at the risk of saying something nice about you again, Myles, like the Bach costume ain't working if you're not playing your ass off. I mean, so it's like, but like, so that it's, you don't get to jump the cue because you do something that's out of the ordinary, but there is something real that it commands an opinion when you're checking all the boxes already and you're like, oh, but also, for a limited time, the first 10 callers are also going to receive, and then you hit them with something, So, all right. I have a question for you, which is good because I'm interviewing you. You're not supposed to say that as an interviewer, but screw it. You went to two really good schools. You went to SMU, and you went to where you studied with John Kitzman, and then you went to Manhattan School, where you studied with Per Brevig. They're both great schools. However, you can totally graduate from both of those schools without, as you can from Michigan. We were talking about Northwestern, where I went. You can graduate from schools like that without really taking any creative risks at all, right? And in fact, if you take too many creative risks, there are gatekeepers who are like, whoa, like, we don't do that here. Like, what do you mean he's gonna, she, they, gonna, et cetera. So you have to explain yourself. You never have to explain not taking risks. So where did you learn this? Like, where does it come from that you want to be, making an album where Nina Simone's voice is the first track and where you're wearing a Bach wig and doing all this weird, which I say is the biggest compliment I can, that I know of. Like, but where does it come from?
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just like the people I surrounded with myself with in school, and the opportunities that I found there kind of really helped, engage that. So, at SMU while I was there, honestly, I feel like Kitzman kind of put me in a box in a good way. Like, his whole thing is like, develop your fundamentals, and then you can do all that stuff later, but you got to be able to play your horn. And so, I remember lessons, I would literally be changing parts of the music, I'd write my own endings. I'd change the cadenzas and stuff like that. And Kitzman would be like, what are you doing? It's like, he's like, when you win a big job, he's like, you can do that, but he's like, while you're in school with me, just play what's on it, play the ink, and I thank him for that, because honestly, it did kind of hone that craft, but even there, I found opportunities to kind of get weird and to, find those people. Like I actually created a free jazz improv, group while I was there.
Hmm.
It was cool. We performed concerts every semester, and we performed on my junior and senior recital. It actually ended up becoming an accredited ensemble at the school, and it still is there today, which is kind of
That's
cool. It's called the Point Ensemble.
oh,
But no, that like opportunities like that really kind of helped me, hone my mind. And actually, on my senior recital when we performed, I wrote a piece called "Clowning Around," and I never connected the two things, but I actually dressed like a clown for that performance. So I guess I've been dressing up for a bit now.
Yeah.
Oh man, but what happened is I stayed in that box, developed those fundamentals, and then once I went to grad school, I remember taking a lesson with Per Brevig, and he asked me kind of questions like you did, where it's just like, why are you playing this like this? And I was like, well, the Mark Lawrence recording, he performs it like this, and blah 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 blah. And Per was like, well, stop right there. Why would you play it like Mark Lawrence when you could play it like you? And nobody had said that to me in that context before, and that just like freed the shackles on me, so to speak. And I was just like, oh, I can. Okay, like it's on now. Like
so great. If we want, I mean, Mark Lawrence is amazing, but like I've got his number. Like if we want to hear Mark Lawrence's version, like I'm gonna call Mark Lawrence. Like no offense. I mean, I'll go to the source. Like I don't, and I bet you do a hell of an impersonation of it.
Yeah. Oh, I've got
like
a Mark Lawrence story for you too.
That,
don't let me leave without it.
all right, that sounds perfect for the bonus episode. I mean, like, yeah, like we're gonna go. The world does not need somebody who can play the trombone like Mark Lawrence or who plays the trombone like Mark Lawrence when we've already got Mark Lawrence playing the shit out of the trombone. So we need somebody who plays like Myles Blakemore, and that needs to not be, oh, that's just a euphemism for plays like Mark Lawrence or plays like Joe Alessi or plays like anybody else. So very, very, very interesting. So a free jazz ensemble that I did a lot of improv at Northwestern, and yeah, a lot of like jamming with friends in practice rooms with the lights out late at night, like like a lot of that stuff where I think I learned a lot about communication. But that's so cool though that's an ensemble that still exists. That's really neat.
It's kind of wild, honestly. I was like, every time I go back, I like, is that still there? And it's like, yeah, it's still there. It's like, okay. I feel like that old guy that like comes back and is like, I was one of the people that helped start this ensemble. They're like, great story, Gramps.
There's a similar ensemble at Michigan called the Creative Arts Orchestra. I performed in it the entire time I was there, had included on my recitals, same thing. And what I found the most valuable, I'll continue to say it was the most valuable thing I did in all of my educational journey. And it was because it allowed me to bring every tool I had and apply it in real time. But also, not just that, but also the vulnerability in the room in front of other people, when you're really going to do this kind of work to perform. And so I want to hear a little bit about that, but I also, man, I'm wondering about this connective thread between that experience and the way that you reinterpret Bach, or all the ways you reinterpret Bach.
Yeah, no, 1000%. I do want to say that, the way I interpret Bach, again, I didn't write the pieces on the album. They're all written by fabulous composers, who've reinterpreted through their lens. And I think I'm like a tertiary, in there that I'm reinterpreting it again, for myself.
Sure. I'll take the conversation further. Yeah,
exactly. So I'll take the opening track, by David Wilborn, The Gift of Little G. The first time I heard this piece, I was like, just awestruck. I was like, this piece is so cool. And there's like only one recording of it like out there. And I was just like, oh, this piece has not been done, enough. Like we need to get some more people playing this piece. So
there's actually two recordings of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
One of them is you.
There we go.
2 days ago.
That's 2 days ago. That's right. There's a second recording now. So, I welcome anybody else who wants to make a third, wants to make a fourth. I think this piece is that good. But no, it's just one of those things. And it's not, complete, it's like in the style of Bach, but it's not like a one-for-one remake, like
Right.
David Wilborn, when he wrote this piece, it goes in all kinds of places. And in fact, even though it's based off the Little Fugue in G minor, it starts off in major, so it's kind of cool. So he interpreted it into a major key, and then for me, I'm just trying to take that a step further, and I'm just trying to put some real power onto it and kind of just be as expressive as possible, bright, crisp, like that's like kind of the thing that I have in my mind, when I was playing it or whatever. It's like I just want this to be overblaringly joyful.
And you accomplished that for sure. That's absolutely how I would describe it.
I like over blaringly joyful. That's yeah, that'd be a good name for a tuba quartet.
There we go.
That then plays only like really slow, sad, like
Right.
Brookner Carell. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Oh, you thought you were gonna leave here? Yeah, lift it up. Yeah, no. Yeah, we got some more slow, sad music for you.
Kitzman,
we went so
Kitzman
far that we came back around the other side.
Yeah, it's all circular. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now Kitzman had a picture of Bruckner on in the wall of his office, and I remember playing it one day, and I was playing a little bit too up tempo, and he was like, "Look at that picture on the wall of Bruckner," and I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Do you think that's somebody who takes things up tempo?" And I was just like, what?
Not anymore.
I was like, no, that looks like somebody who's gonna sit on his organ and take it grave.
That dude was so serious about his organ. He's buried underneath his organ, like for
I
real.
didn't know that. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
he's
kind
like
of wild.
I bought a number of years ago with Boston Brass. We were in Linz, Austria, and the church where he worked was outside of Linz. It was, I don't know, a half hour, 45-minute drive. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous place. But yeah, like his organ's in the loft, and then he's like, you walk in, he's buried underneath the floor under his organ. Yeah,
working even in death.
Yeah, right. Or it's like, wow, that's yeah. I mean, I love me some tuba, but I don't need to be buried under one.
No, we're gonna put you in it, man.
I want to be cremated.
Make some money off of that,
There you go. I want to be cremated and then put into a sousaphone. Yeah, that's
There's a service for everything, man.
I mean, if we put you in the sousaphone, we gotta take you to the right place and then poof you out into the. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think then we give that tuba to the next generation, right? We just pass that along.
Exactly right.
Yeah, that's pretty. You're right, though, Myles. This is a little dark, but yeah, but my dad would find this hilarious. My dad died like 5-6 months ago, and when that happened, like the funeral home, like they send you like the brochure. He just like wanted to be cremated. I mean, that's it. And there's like. Yeah. They can like take a small part of the ashes and like launch you into space. I mean, it's like, it's like so that you're orbiting, I mean, it's like basically every single thing that you could possibly think of. It's like, some of them are 15 grand, but it's just like, it's kind of wild how, of course, because capitalism, there's like,
for sure.
Like, yeah, if you want to be cremated and put into a sousaphone, that's probably like they just have to enter this code. And then like, it pops up in the checkout, it's like, it's wild, man.
So you've got to be the one doing it for yourself, right? Because I can't imagine like your next of kin is just like, you know what? He didn't say this explicitly in his will, but I think he wants to go to space.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, in fact, he said he wanted to be, spread around the island in the Berkshires, but it would be funny. Yeah, like let's launch him into space. Like, yeah, what's he gonna do? Like, yeah. Anyway. Speaking equally dark, I was given a master class it was earlier this month at Vanderbilt. Beth Weiss was great and was talking about Sam, and I don't remember, I told a story, and I said before, and I was like, yeah, I can tell this story. I was like, yeah, it's like not like he can do anything about it anyways, and like the room got dark, and then I was like, all right. So here's the thing, like, yeah, he was a sicko like I am, and like he was like a second father to me, and he would find that very funny. And you could see a couple people like were like, okay, cool. And then some people were still tense. I was like, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's like
just gotta break that tension.
This is how I deal with being sad. Is I just make jokes. So yeah, because I need therapy. We've come full circle. Yeah.
No, but the thing is that's the family we had. I mean, the little bit of time I had up at Tanglewood, just spending time on tunes with him, and like even then, then a couple decades go by and we start talking again. It was always light, it was always genuine. So it's like, sure, I mean, maybe that's not for everyone. Like maybe you get in the right room and it's not for everyone. But those of us that know that it's like, yeah, you could say it's just about dealing with being sad, but it's like, no, this is living. This is the living. Yeah. And I can't honor the memory of that relationship if I don't crack a joke.
Yeah.
Anyone that knows that you're supposed to say this right there. It's like,
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Myles, did you ever have a chance to meet Sam?
No, I didn't. No, I wish.
Bummer.
Yeah.
There you go.
I met him at MSM. Actually, did a little. What were they doing? They did quintet, and Dave Taylor was the trombone player.
Oh yeah.
And they were just putting something together. And he's like, "Hey, come on down to Manus today. I'm going to play this show." And then we were off to the races after that, and ended up doing a couple of really fun things together. But just hanging out, and right in that lobby, looking at Dvorak statue.
Man, that's one of the best parts about being in New York is like so many people come through and play.
Yes.
You really do get exposed to so much. Like that's part of the education itself, right? Dave Taylor has a great saying. He came and gave a master class at MSM while I was there. He was just like, those who stay inside, stay inside. And that resonated with me. And I was just
seriously,
like, oh yeah, I gotta go out and see some stuff.
Yeah.
Go out and meet some people.
Wow. If anybody hasn't heard it, then huge plug for the Dave Taylor Brass Junkies episode, because he's just like, that guy is profound. Like,
cool. Yeah. I wasn't even aware that you had done one, so I'm gonna go right to it. Yeah,
it's he's profound. I mean, I had that was the first time that he and I had interacted, especially once when Sam passed away. There was a number of people like him where I suddenly was having like really like genuine human interactions with him, like on Facebook, right. Even though we kind of felt like we knew each other. I mean, obviously I knew all about him, sure. But then it was a little bit mutual after that. But then he's one of those people. Julie Landsman was one of the others, speaking of New York. Yeah. Talked to her. It was like 5 minutes in the conversation. It was like, so good to see you again. We had just met, I mean, it felt like we'd known each other for years. So really, really cool. Okay. So let's see, who, do you have any heroes in the trombone world? And if you don't want to use the term hero, that's fine. And I'm not asking you who your number one hero is, or for any kind of a list, just who's somebody that pops into your head, since I'm putting you on the spot, that is somebody you look up to for some reason.
Yeah, I've got a long list, but I'll pop in. One of my favorites right now is Jeremy Wilson. I think he's just doing it big right now,
Mm-hmm.
Like he really is working. He's, passionate about what he's doing, and that comes through. Also just an absolutely gorgeous player. But, when you're talking earlier about somebody who not only, records stuff, but puts it out there, he's putting it out there. Like, I don't know how he does it, but he's just constantly on the grind. And I aspire to that for sure.
Yeah, I actually just met him in person for the first time when I was at Vanderbilt. So yeah, I crashed the faculty brass quintet was rehearsing, and I was heckling Jose, who I was on the road with for years. They sounded and Jose sounded great too. I wish I wouldn't say. I'd love to, because we used to like to rib each other. I would love to say he didn't, but he sounded awesome like he always does. So and as did Jeremy and all of them. So.
For sure. Yeah, no, I actually had to play right after him at the American Trombone Workshop this year. They put us on the same concert, and so they didn't tell us the order right, so I was just assumed. I was like, well, Jeremy goes last, of course, like that's just what happens. And then it was like the day of the concert, they were like, okay, so Jeremy's gonna go first, you'll go second, and then Chris Davis will go last. And I was like, wait, what? You sure you don't want to change that order a little bit? Like,
put an intermission in there or something?
Yeah, hey, man.
At least you're not Chris Davis. Yeah, he had to go after Jeremy and after you. So yeah, that's
man.
Yeah, there you go. Well, let's see here. Home stretch here. Although we are going to have you stick around for the bonus episode, and I've actually got a really out story that I'm going to share about a performance art group that I was in at Northwestern, which
nice.
Which, we got in some trouble actually at one point. It's a good story. We looked for the line and then we went over it. So, but as you do. But we're also going to hear your Mark Lawrence story, which is great. But what is your favorite part about playing in the Navy band?
Oh man, the repertoire for sure. I mean, honestly, I think like circus marches. I put an extra es on the end. Or I have a tendency to do that. My girlfriend hates it. Like everything is an s at the end, like Brahms, Kroger's, like whatever. And she's like, there's no s
Wait.
there. Like, what? There's been an s
you
there
don't
my
call
whole
him,
life.
You don't call him Brahm, do you? Johanna Brahm.
Yeah.
Johanna Brahm.
So you love circus marches.
Yes. Oh man. Now, like what other repertoire, as an ensemble, do you get to play? Like use actually use the double tonguing. You know what I mean? It's like I've worked my butt off on this in the practice room, learning double tonguing, and darn it, I want to use it. So it's like when those come up, I'm like, yes, let's go.
Exactly. Yeah. We used to do that one in Boston Brass. There was that thing ended. Rich Kelly, when he was the first lead trumpet in Boston Brass in my time, who used to just carve everything up. I don't know if you've ever met him, Myles, but like probably the most intimidating musician I've ever played with, and he's like the most approachable and like the most loving, and like, but he just has skills. He played the and he hit like the flat 7 accidentally. He did not get the octave. He always got it, and he was just like, he was not in the mood. He smiled, he bowed, and then we walked off stage, and before even like the last guy was behind the curtain, he got him, and he hit the high note, sounded like Maynard Ferguson, loud enough that the entire hall cracked up laughing. So it was actually like it was like he was driving angry.
And that's why we all need therapy.
Yeah, right. And he sounded
like he got his moment.
Yeah, and then he smiled because the whole audience. I mean, it was like this continuation of the first half. So yeah, even if you're Rich Kelly, it's like things are going to go wrong every once in a while, and
it happens to everybody.
Ready for it. So that's a cool answer that you love circus marches, because I think there are a lot of people who are like, it's not Mahler 3, so like
right.
I don't have the time. I'm not one of them, nor is Doc. But yeah, that's pretty neat. That's
even
cool.
in orchestra, like how often do you get to play Mahler 3? It's
correct.
Like, I think this is like a fallacy.
One time for me.
Yeah, right.
I've played 1 and 2. I've never played 3. So yeah, 0 times for me. So, well, this has been really, really great. I'm going to repeat myself because I get to, because this is my thing, and there's no editor. I just want to thank you for like showing the way on like having a creative statement and doing it. And I didn't know the backstory, as will just about nobody that listens to this know, about how you recorded all those pieces that you commissioned, and it all went south, and like that you like got past that, and you got past that when you got past it, and you just did the thing, and then you like shared it, and now it's out there, and now it's for like anybody to enjoy. So that's so thank you very much, because the world is a hot mess right now, and we need more of that. So
and thanks for bringing your energy to DC. This is a very, very proud and wonderful place to make music. Howard University obviously is a true gem of an institution, and my family is deep, generations and generations attending and teaching and administration on all that. So thank you for being over there and taking care of the family. You know what I'm saying? I really appreciate you on that, and just being around and looking forward to what all of our interactions is going to get to be, just because we're here in town.
Hey, thank you so much. Again, thank you for having me on.
This is going to be the longest wrap up we've ever had for an interview, because I totally missed that point. I want to ask you, what does it mean to you to teach at Howard University? Because I think it's important to give you the chance to do that, and then I'll just close again. I'm not going to say all the nice things the second time, because I've said enough nice things about you. But what does it mean to teach at Howard?
Oh man, it means everything. Honestly, in classical music, there aren't really these spaces for Blackness, so to speak. And so to have that within the classical music world is so special and so rare. And I feel like I lucked into the most beautiful job in the world, You know, it doesn't matter. You know, I could go to the Navy band where I'm the only Black person in the concert band, you know, and have a rough day. You know, maybe somebody doesn't understand like a reference that I made, or somebody doesn't, you know, understand, you know, where I'm coming from. But I know that at the end of the day, I can go back to Howard and everybody gets it, and everybody is going to be welcoming. And you know, not every Black musician has that in the classical world. So I feel very, very fortunate for that. So, you know, shout out to the Mecca.
Wow. Doc, thank you for and I know your roots there. I totally meant to ask that, and that was like 45 seconds. That was awesome. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, boy, I can't I mean, there's just a lot you said you're lucky, and you're right. You know, it's like, yeah, and you've you're amazing. You've earned it, but there's a lot of just being in the right place at the right time.
That's exactly it.
You could be playing in one of the bands that's or orchestras that's not down the street from a place like that, and so yeah, that's great. I'm sure that they're happy to have you. If you work at Howard and you're not happy to have them, you can just email me on the side.
Yeah, right. But be able to go hang out, you know, with King T'Challa, even though
you're right.
Name, be able to hang out with Felicia Rashad. Who knows if she's hanging out actually there that day? But it doesn't matter. Her essence.
Oh, she's there. Yeah,
oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I didn't know. Oh, that's so great. It's so great.
Good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Myles, we're going to have you stick around for the bonus episode. It's your choice. Do we want to tell Nickens to go screw, or can he come to the bonus episode too? Or
I can come.
All right, there you go. It's like a little, you know,
Hitz forgets I'm actually in the other room, and I'll just walk in the room with him.
So yeah, we're gonna have Doc and I are gonna have Myles stick around for the bonus episode, which you can learn how to support the Brass Junkies and to make more episodes like this one possible, to help to amplify voices like Myles, which even people who are you know, at the top, we all need amplifying. I do. So yep, we all need it, and so everybody who has and continues to help with that, you're very appreciated. It's patreon.com/thebrassjunkies, and yeah, and you'll hear this bonus episode, which there's going to be a couple of good stories. I can't wait for the Mark Lawrence one. He's awesome, and yeah. Thank you, Doc, for
once again for having me, man.
Yeah, of course. And Myles, you're the shit. Thank you for being the shit. And I am
very cool to get to spend this time with you, Myles.
Can't wait for whatever's coming next. So and yeah, you're like, I just released an album 2 days ago, man. Give me like 3 days to just.
No, I'm working on the next 2 already. I got ideas.
Yeah, you're not right in the head in the best way possible. So, all right, and that is going to do it for another episode of the Brass Junkies.